Dion Jefferson writes, yo, Steve, I prefer Stephen A, by the way, from people like you. You mentioned in the past you'd be a great district attorney. You think you could handle the Trump case, meaning conviction? Thanks. Peace and love. That's a real interesting question. I can't summarily dismiss your question because it's about being able to convince 12 jurors to see your way. And in this day and age, truth doesn't nearly matter. It's partisanship. If you support a dude, to you, anything that goes against him favors the other side. So the truth doesn't matter to you as a partisan thinker so much as making sure that the other side doesn't benefit from whatever decision you make. That's the problem with our politics. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, we can slice it any way we want to, but the election is coming down to a 78-year-old man on the right, unless he goes to jail, against an 82-year-old dude, unless he decides not to run for re-election. On the right side, I'm rooting for somebody like Chris Christie. On the left side, I wish Hillary was running. I wish Michelle Obama was running. I wish Bob Iger was running, the head of Disney, because I believe in that man. I just think he's the greatest executive I've ever seen. But that's me. But to answer your question directly, I'd have a tough time getting Trump convicted. I mean, I know this stuff looks really, really bad because you can't be taking files that weren't necessarily declassified to your resort at Mar-a-Lago and putting them in bathrooms. I don't give a damn that you got 11 different bathrooms on your estate. These national security files, if they're telling the truth. This is top secret stuff. As a president, you got to know you can't do that. And if he had just given it back to them and had cooperated like they asked him to, instead of politicizing everything and highlighting how they raided your home and all of this other stuff, it wouldn't have come to this. So I got to fault Trump for that. But that doesn't mean he's guilty of what they're saying he's guilty of. The facts will tell us that. At the end of the day, as potent of a district attorney as I believe I would be, for example, and I've said this to my friend who has become my friend, Carl Douglas. He was second or third chair during the OJ trial working under Johnny Cochran. That Carl Douglas, if I remember correctly, second or third chair. If I misquoted, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. But he's a lawyer. Knows what the hell he's doing. Highly intelligent brother. Guy that I'm very fond of and I communicate with from time to time. And he once called me on my radio show that I had back in the day to check me because I said if it was me going up against Johnny Cochran instead of Marsha Clark or I forget the brother's name. Please forgive me for doing that. I just got brain lock right now. Who's it? Christopher Darden? I think so, right? Let me tell you something. Ain't no way in hell Johnny Cochran would have beat me with that evidence. I'd have never put that glove on OJ's fist, on his hand. I would have known that he took medication, and then when he doesn't take medication, your fists swell up. I would have assumed that the blood that was on the glove would have dried up and shrunk the glove to some degree. He wouldn't have been in a position to say, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. Johnny Cochran wouldn't have pulled that off on me. Oh, hell no. I'd have got OJ's ass. He'd have been under the damn cell. I'm trying to tell you, I'd have got him. And then Douglas, that's how Carl Douglas and I met. He was like, you would not have beat Johnny Cochran. I said, of course not. I'm not a lawyer. I was saying if I was a lawyer, if I was in that profession, I would have known what I knew about the law. And as a result, with that preponderance of evidence, I would have beaten Johnny Cochran. The late, great Johnny Cochran, God rest his soul. One of the great, iconic law figures of our time. I would have beat him because of that evidence. I would have brought up OJ. Yeah, you know she was doing, you heard the reports about her doing her thing. You know she was watching you in the bush. You was watching her in the bushes, spying on her, and that crime of rage, the way that she was killed. And I don't make a joke of that because she was murdered, and Ronald Goldman was murdered, and my heart goes out. I am a sympathetic figure to Mr. Fred Goldman. That man loved his son. And I will never knock him for the position that he took against OJ. I don't blame him one bit. But I would have known about that jealousy stuff about OJ and the things that he did and the way that he treated Nicole Brown Simpson. I'd have been all over that. That if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. That wouldn't have worked with me. I'd have got his ass. But that's me. This with Trump, different animal. Because even if the facts say everything you needed to say as a prosecutor, if you're a partisan individual who's thinking about what Trump is saying, it's a witch hunt. It's all been politicized. This is just their way of interfering with the election and trying to stop me from winning the presidency back. If you're a partisan juror and you feel that way, regardless of what facts I show you, it won't matter. So I'd have to tell you that it would all depend on the jury selection. That's just my thinking. Assuming that it's a jury at all, as opposed to the judge just wanting to hear the case without a jury, which I think is a judge's right. I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't looked that deep into it. But that's just where I'm coming from with it. No, I don't know if I would win this case. But great question. I love questions like that. Thank you.